Hey guys, Char5 here, and, well, it's been, back in August, I think, or was it September? I don't remember, but it's been 4 years since I first uploaded my very first, Everything Wrong With parody, Everything Wrong With Shadow the Hedgehog, and if you guys will notice, when did I start with it? I don't exactly remember which thumbnail it was, but a few Everything Wrong Withs ago, I started this new thumbnail format, which I really started to like, and I want to make them all more consistent, so I'm redoing all of them, so there's going to be kind of a mini-series, and the good thing about it is I get to actually discuss some of the games that I'm going to be talking about. Again, I'm shooting two birds with one stone with this, as I said in the first ever Speed Paint discussion, and the subject today is Everything Wrong With the Shadow the Hedgehog thumbnail. That video has gone through 3 thumbnails now. I haven't uploaded this yet as the new thumbnail, but I will be doing it as soon as this video goes up. So if you see this new thumbnail, it's not a new video. It's the old one. You know, it just has an updated thumbnail. So I guess let's talk a little bit about Shadow the Hedgehog and why it was my first Everything Wrong With parody. So for those of you that don't know the story, because I guess, you know, not a lot of people check my other stuff aside from the Everything Wrong With, so a lot of you might not know the story if you're watching this. The Everything Wrong With parodies weren't the first type of videos I parodied. The first type of videos were Screen Junkies honest trailers, and I started doing that with Sonic Lost World, which we'll get to eventually because I need to redo that one as well. And I did a few honest trailer parodies. I had to stop doing them because you know, they thought I was infringing on their copyright, and I wasn't. I was in fair use, and I contacted them about it. It was like, for an upcoming YouTuber, I didn't even have, I think, 1,000 subscribers at the time, and, you know, already I was getting complaints about them, you know, and semi-personal attacks, you know, from the guy that does the voice for them, you know, threatening to take down my channel and stuff if I kept doing it. So, you know, I wanted to keep those videos up, but I figured, you know what, if you're not going to let a fan do his thing, then, you know, I might as well take it down. But before that happened, I figured, you know what, I'm going to do an honest trailer parody of Shadow the Hedgehog, which is a game that, you know, not a lot of people seem to enjoy, and, you know, I think I could get a good kick out of it. But the thing was, you know, I figured, you know what, the story on this game is so, like, batshit insane that I might as well, you know, parody something else that I've seen recently, which was CinemaSins, and I found both of them just incredibly hilarious, and I figured, you know what, well, if this honest trailer parody is something people like, why not this? And it was a social experiment, like, because I was making content at the time. I had been making content for, like, about 4 years at the time, or something, but no one cared, you know, like, it was all a bunch of original content, and yeah, a lot of, you know, unoriginal jokes, sure, but, you know, I'd never really copied anyone's format, I don't think. The only thing I guess that I had copied, but at the same time everyone was doing it, was, you know, skit-based shows. So I figured, you know what, I bet people will watch this just because they know what CinemaSins are, and if they see this, you know, they'll be more interested, and lo and behold, I was right. It was never really out of, oh, you know what, this is what my channel's going to be about. It was more so kind of a social experiment to see whether or not I'd be right on that fact. And the reason I chose Shadow the Hedgehog first was because, again, you know, the story is all over the place. There's not one consistent storyline, and a lot about it is just so contradictory and just, you know, it's a mess. So I figured, you know what, let's do it. Let's go for it. And what I originally wanted to do was also not gameplay stuff, but, you know, in-game conversation. Like, one of the ones that I immediately thought of was when Sonic says that he wouldn't be caught dead using a gun, and then I wanted to say something about Smash Brothers. But, you know, it felt like a lot of work. Like, that Everything Wrong With took, like, a week or 2 weeks non-stop, you know, like, I can finish an Everything Wrong With in 4 days now, depending, you know, like, depending if I've seen all the cutscenes, whatever. I can have it recorded, have it, you know, I can have all the elements done in, like, 4 days, and that's taking breaks, you know, like, I can do one thing one day, one thing another day, and it takes no time at all, but because I already have a format. The reason I don't do it as much is because there are a lot of games I haven't played yet, so that's what takes up my time, and plus, I'm making other videos. and, you know, other things about life. But I didn't end up doing the gameplay sins or, you know, like in-game conversations because I didn't have a capture card at the time, so there was no way I could capture them. So what I ended up doing, and I still sort of do for a lot of my parodies, is I downloaded the cutscenes off of YouTube, a collection of cutscenes, and, you know, like, it was just all the cutscenes, not with the in-game cutscenes. I mean, yes, with the in-game cutscenes, but not like the in-game conversations, because like that would involve gameplay of some sort. And, you know, you can't have all the conversations, because not everyone's going to go out of the way to talk to everyone or hear like all the voice clips that people have to say. So I figured, you know what, okay, I'll just do the cutscenes, and I'll do what CinemaSins does just with video games, and I won't include cutscenes, because I feel like that's... I won't include in-game conversations, I mean, because I feel like that's a little too much. And also the reason why I don't include gameplay sins is because it's subjective, you know? Like, I could include, oh, I hate how slippery Shadow feels in Shadow the Hedgehog, but yeah, maybe someone likes it, you know? Like, I can't really send that if someone doesn't agree with me. But I try to do my best to talk about things that, you know, you kind of can't refute, or that, like, you know... whatever. But anyway, Shadow the Hedgehog. That game came out when I was about, I want to say 9 years old. I remember it was pretty heavily advertised because everyone loved Shadow at the time. Like, they planned to kill him off in Adventure 2, and, you know, they brought him back in Heroes and made his storyline really complicated, and that, for some reason, merited his own game. And it was very interesting at the time. I remember seeing it in a magazine because that game had come out, like, pretty much right after I moved to Mexico, I think. So it took me like a year to get the game. By the time Sonic Riders was out, actually, I got them at the same time. We went back to California for some reason. I don't remember why. I think it was, like, on vacation or something. And I got both that and Riders. And I didn't even know Riders was a thing. I'd never seen it advertised. But I'd known Shadow, and I wanted Shadow. And I remember thinking to myself, like, it was a fun game for what it was, you know, like, but the thing was, I always thought it was really, really incredibly short, because I was so used to, it's just, in my mind, it was like, this is a Sonic game, you know, so it was, oh, get to the goal ring, get to the end, and little did I know, you know, the alternate pathways, like, yeah, when you go to a new level, you know, you see the map, you see the good and evil map, but the thing was, I didn't process at the time that you had to do these other missions. Like, I didn't really pay much attention to Sonic or Black Doom's Eye. I don't know, like, the concept of missions in a Sonic game was so foreign to me, and I didn't really pay much attention to it until, like, many years later, where I was like, oh, well, not many years later, but, like, sometime later, I figured, oh, okay, so that's what I have to do. And then I played through the whole game, and I did eventually beat it. And I never thought it was, like, too bad. I guess it was because I was a kid. I wasn't paying too much attention to the story. And, you know, gameplay-wise, I wouldn't say it's the worst thing, but I can't say it's good whatsoever. Like, it controls, you know, very slippery. I think even more slippery than Sonic Heroes. The gunplay's fine. You know, there's a lot about the game that's, you know, relatively fine, but there's a lot of story elements about it that make the game suck. Like, I can't judge a game based solely on its story, but there's not really much reason to go back to the game, I think. Not to mention the fact that there are certain levels you have to play multiple times, and the payoff isn't really that good because, you know, they were offering the whole, are you a hero, are you a villain sort of thing. I remember loving the game when I was a kid. And then when YouTube came along, I started seeing reviews of it, and a lot of it started making sense to me. I was like, oh, okay, I can see why people don't like this game now. And I'm not gonna lie, it did sort of change my opinion on the game a little bit. And going back to it sometime later, I realized, like, yeah, you know what? I actually have to agree with this. This isn't really all that good or that fun, especially given the stipulations. You know, you have to play the game 10 times in order to get a final story, which, you know, it invalidates everything you just did. So, like, I guess in that sense, it's sort of infuriating. From a gameplay standpoint, it's fine, it's inoffensive, whatever. music-wise, the music's not bad, but it's just so damn unmemorable. Like, the vocal tracks I think are good, but, like, if you ask me any frickin', like, music track from any of the levels of the game, I'd be at a loss. I can't remember a single damn one. Not even Westopolis, and you have to play that 10 times. Like, the only, I think, song that I remember is the theme where you're using Chaos Control and Chaos Blast, but that's only because it's just like a remix version of I Am. So, but yeah, you know, like I figured we're coming along to an anniversary of sorts. I'm coming up to my 100,000 subscribers, which, holy shit, I never thought I'd get this far. You know, I remember at 5,000, I was like, yes, I've made it. This was one of my dreams, you know. And here we are, you know, like in 4 years of this shit starting. It's crazy. And I want to remake, like, all the thumbnails that I have. Well, most of them, not all of them, because there are other ones like the Smash Brothers one that was like my first video to reach 1 million views, and I don't know why. The thumbnail is so simple. Like, it's just the logo with the words "Everything Wrong With." But you know what? Like, this my Everything Wrong With Shadow captured a lot of attention too, and it was just a still render from the opening cutscene with the words "Everything Wrong With You" in 26 minutes. And I remember the first reception to that video was actually, it was poor. Like, it was this dude that was, you know, arguing with me about why the game to him was really good, you know, like as if what I was saying was invalidating the fact that he liked the game. It's like, you can like the game, whatever. You're like, just because I'm saying that there are things wrong with it doesn't make it a bad game. You know, in Shadow's case, yeah, I do think it is kind of a bad game, but, you know, I don't think it's just the fact that I make a video on it doesn't make it a bad game. Usually the games I parody or I make a parody of are some of my favorite games, you know? Like, I love Sonic, and I've covered every Sonic game. And, you know, there are other parodies or other videos that I don't have any freaking thumbnail for, like, whatsoever, because I was just like, I want to get this video out already. I don't have time to come up with a concept for a thumbnail. I'm just gonna do it. Like, I'm just gonna upload it. I'll you know, use the logo, the title, whatever, and that'll be it. So I never ended up making a thumbnail. Like Kingdom Hearts 358, Metal Gear Solid, one of the Mortal Kombat 9. Like, there are a lot of ones that I just never made a thumbnail for because I didn't have the time, or I couldn't come up with something in time, and I was just like, I'm done with this, I'm done editing it, I just want to upload this. So this will give me it'll be a good opportunity to, you know, draw something, and just have them, you know, unified, you know, like have a common theme. Characters on the right, the word "Everything Wrong With" on the left, obscured by the characters, but that's not the important thing. You know, it's a style, it's a theme, you know. That way you can tell that all these videos belong to the same person. And, you know, that's very important when it comes to YouTube marketing. So, you know, again, it's great. It's great. As for this piece, I guess, like, what can I say? I really wanted to incorporate, because, again, if you'll remember if you were around for that long, I guess, the first Shadow the Hedgehog thumbnail was just a render of Shadow, you know, with his arms crossed. It was ripped directly out of the opening cutscene of Shadow the Hedgehog. And, you know, time later, when I got my drawing tablet and Flash, I figured, you know what, I'm going to redo them. I'm going to, and the theme at the time was, like, I'm going to make the characters into a pose where, you know, they spell out EW, like E-W-W, you know, everything wrong with. And so what I did was I had Shadow facing left so that his quills were the E, Doom's eye, like, swooping down so that he was the W, and then the Commander on the right with his arms up making another W. But I didn't know how to work my tablet yet very well. I didn't know Flash very well. Like, I didn't know that, you know, that the vectors were so awful and that you needed to correct them a lot. And so, like, I liked it at the time. I was like, oh, this is nice. It's so different, but, like, I like it. And now I look back to it, it's like, it's so awful. Like, Shadow's head looks so small. Doom's eye is, like, so unproportionate. The Commander's head looks like huge at the top and then tiny at the bottom, and now we have this, you know, like I ended up really liking this piece, and I just compare the 3 thumbnails so much. Like, you can't really compare with the first one because it's a render. It's an official render from, you know, the game, but I compare it to the first thumbnail I made in Flash. It's like, oh my god, this is so much better. Like, I have so much more control over my tablet now. I'm using different software to color and draw in it, and it's so much better. I like the style that I've gone for. You know, the commander is now drawn in, you know, the style that I draw humans. Shadow is way more proportionate. I was so afraid. The reason I went for Doom's Eye instead of Black Doom in, like, the Flash thumbnail is because, you know, Black Doom always seemed so intimidating to me in terms of drawing him, because I was like, he's so hard in terms of a design. He's hard to draw. And I figured this time, I was like, you know what? Go for it. I don't care if he's hard. And he wasn't really all too complicated, but, you know, it was still a little intimidating for me to draw, because I was like, should I just do Doom's Eye again? And it's a little clustered. Like, I didn't really know where to put the commander. And even so, I look at him, it's like, he's a little obscured by Shadow, but I think, you know, he's in a good enough place where you can identify him and know who he is and all that. And I wanted to include all 3 characters because they're very important to the story. Like, every other Sonic character in the game is like, they're kind of irrelevant. I could have drawn Maria too, I guess, or Gerald, Robotnik. But I figured these are the 2 new characters that they're introducing in the story. I might as well draw them in it instead of, you know, any returning characters. And of course, Shadow needs to be the centerfold of the piece too, because it's his game. But yeah, I really liked how this piece came out. I don't really know what else to talk about when it comes to the Everything Wrong With. I really improvise with this, you know, like I'm looking at references, sure, when I'm drawing them, but like it's so improvised. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna start, how it's gonna end up looking, you know. It's kind of a cool adventure, I think, because you have these characters in your mind and you're like, I know what it is I want to draw or who I want to draw. I don't know how it's gonna come out though, and that's kind of what excites me about remaking a lot of these thumbnails, and not just remaking, but making for the first time as well, because like I said, there are a lot of them that don't even have a thumbnail to begin with. It's just like the logo, and it's so plain and boring, and, you know, unsurprisingly, those videos don't really have a lot of views. And there are some thumbnails that, like, I look back on and god, they're awful. Like, I remember a lot of the Kingdom Hearts ones are terrible. Like the Birth by Sleep one. I remember when I first did that, I was kind of proud of it, actually, because I was like, oh, they actually kind of do look like the characters. And now I look at it, it's like, this is so bad. Even worse is the Dream Drop Distance one. That's even worse. And it's because I rushed that one terribly. Like, this only took me 4 hours, and it really didn't feel like it. It felt like it was more than 4 hours. My pen was crapping out on me, and it was frustrating me to no end. And not to mention, I was in a terrible drawing position because I was in my living room instead of my workstation where I usually am. So I was in a really uncomfortable position when drawing this. But despite that, it only took me 4 hours, and I felt like it was much longer than that. Obviously, you're seeing it sped up, so you know you don't need to see me do every meticulous line or me stumble and be stupid because my pen doesn't work, because I'm clumsy and drop it a lot. But yeah, ultimately I did love how this ended up looking. I can't wait to do a lot of the other ones. Again, because I don't really know what it is I'm going to be doing for them, and I don't know how they're going to end up. But I'm really excited to know, you know, because there are a lot of characters I've never ever drawn before. Like, for example, the Mortal Kombat characters. Like, I've drawn Quan Chi and Cassie Cage, but like at the same time, it was really poorly drawn of them. And another thing is with the thumbnails is if you notice, a lot of them they don't stand out at all. Like, they don't pop out at all. If you look at my thumbnails, it's just like they're characters against a background. That's it. Like, with these new thumbnails, you know, they have a white stroke and a dropped shadow. Hey, perfect. It's right here. This is the part where I'm adding it. And you know, I have them composited to match with the background, but they still pop out. They still catch your eye. You know, even if they combine with the background, you can still see the characters and they pop out. You know, as opposed to my old thumbnails where it's like they blend in. There's nothing setting the background apart from the foreground. And now, this is the final piece right here. It has none of the letters yet. Like, it doesn't have the Everything Wrong With text in the background yet. And because I'm going to be using this for both the discussion, a discussion video and the Everything Wrong With thumbnail. So I'm going to need to, you know, add each text separately. But I hope you like this discussion. I can't wait to do the rest of them. I'm going to be doing them in order, so I believe the next one is Sonic Unleashed. I don't remember what the next one is. Actually, I'm really excited to do the Sonic Unleashed one. I don't know what I'm going to be doing for that. I might just do the Werehog and Chip. I don't know. Maybe? If you want to leave suggestions in the comments, I'll be glad to take them in, but I might just end up doing that. And you can leave any suggestion for, you know, any Everything Wrong With thumbnail that you want me to recreate. There are, like I said, there are some I won't recreate, like the Smash Brothers one. Like that one I don't really see any need to recreate. Yeah, Sonic Unleashed is the next one, then Adventure 2. Oh, the Sly Cooper one, I can't wait to redo that one. The Arkham Asylum one, I'm not going to redo that one. I'm just going to rearrange it a little bit so that it matches the style, but the art I'm going to keep. And, you know, for example, like Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 9, like those, I'm aching to fucking remake those because they're so bad. But until next time, guys, thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay awesome. This is Char5, signing off.